Clyde Barrow, Bonnie Parker, Buck and Blanche Barrow and W.D. Jones rented this apartment and holed up inside for several months. On April 13, 1933, law officers from the Joplin Police Department and from Newton County, seeking suspected bootleggers, approached the dwelling. The outlaws opened fire on them, killing Joplin Detective Harry McGinnis and Newton County Constable J.W. Harriman. The Barrow Gang escaped, leaving behind a roll of Kodak film that yielded the first publicly seen photographs. Detective McGinnis, Constable Harriman and several other area officers had gone to their hideout at 3347 1/2 Oak Ridge Drive, in southern Joplin, to investigate what they thought were bootleggers. Neighbors had become suspicious of late-hour activity of the house and reported it to the Highway Patrol. Troopers investigated and discovered that the registration on the vehicle didn't match that of the renters of the property. They reported the matter to Joplin police, who obtained a search warrant. Detective McGinnis, Constable Harriman, Troopers Kaler and Grammer, and Joplin Detective DeGraff went to the house at 4 p.m. As they arrived, Clyde Barrow, of the Bonnie and Clyde gang, was at the garage door. The officers drove one car into the driveway to stop Barrow from closing the door. Constable Harriman jumped out of the car and was struck with a shotgun blast. The troopers and Detective DeGraff continued the gun battle, but Trooper Kaler ran out of ammunition and Detective DeGraff sent Grammer for help. The gang then drove off, continuing fire. Constable Harriman was pronounced dead on his arrival at the hospital. Testimony at the coroner's inquest indicated Constable Harriman had been shot 10 times with bullets, severing with his injuries including 2 severed arteries in his neck, and that it was probable that he was already dead when loaded into an ambulance at the scene. Detective McGinnis died later at the hospital at 11 p.m. Evidence discovered at the scene included undeveloped film including the first photos of the Bonnie and Clyde, recent parole papers and marriage license for Marvin Ivan Buck Barrows, and diamonds from the Neosho mining robbery. The Bonnie and Clyde gang was responsible for the murder and kidnapping of law enforcement officers in 4 states, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, New Mexico and Texas, between 1932 and 1934. Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow started their criminal career by robbing banks and quickly became notorious killers wanted for the murders of 9 law enforcement officers. Clyde had a well-known affinity for the .30-06 caliber Browning automatic rifle and a penchant for driving fast stolen Ford V8 sedans. Marvin "Buck" Barrow was seriously wounded in the head and Blanche was nearly blinded by flying glass during a shootout at the Red Crown Tourist Court at Platte City, Missouri on July 19, 1933. 5 days later, the Barrow Gang was involved in yet another gun battle near an abandoned amusement park between Redfield and Dexter, Iowa. Bonnie, Clyde, and W.D. Jones all escaped after suffering wounds in the same gunfight. Buck Barrow, near death from his wounds, sustained another wound in the back and he and Blanche were captured. Buck fell into a coma, died from his wounds after confessing to killing Alma, Arkansas Town Marshal Henry Humphrey. Blanche and W.D. Jones were eventually sentenced to prison. The criminals Bonnie and Clyde were finally shot and killed near Sales, Bienville Parish, Louisiana, when they were ambushed by a task force of Texas and Louisiana officers led by famed former Texas Ranger Captain Frank Hamer.